Let's if he hops on. Let me see. I don't know. We'll see. He sent me a message last week saying that he couldn't do it last Friday. Hopefully, he didn't forget. I forgot until my alarm went off, or else I would never even considered that I had a mastermind session today. Here's the order right here. Oh, okay. Here we go. Hey, Sean.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm alive, and yourself?
I'm alive and kicking.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Been up to for the last couple weeks?
Just working, basically. And nothing much, really. When did we last talk? Let's see, that was
2 Fridays ago.
2 Fridays ago. So the 26th. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Would have been before I went on a fishing trip.
How was that?
This fishing trip. It was pretty good. Didn't really catch anything. Caught 2 walleyes that we couldn't keep. One was small and the other one was about 17 inches, which is good size, but it was the lake. There's rules for like you can only keep between 21 and 24 inches, and then like 1 over 29 or something. So there's that. Then we also caught an eel pout, which I don't know if you know what an eel pout is, but
Negative.
it's like a slimy bottom feeding fish that is basically like we didn't keep it, but it's supposed to be like a poor man's lobster kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be really good to eat, even though it's kind of this disgusting, slimy bottom feeding fish. So,
Oh, you mean catfish?
yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, it looks like a cross between an eel and a catfish. Or maybe like if you've seen a bullhead, bullheads are pretty grody too. So, but yeah, it stinks and it was slimy and gross, but it was kind of cool to catch one. So this is all done now, right? You had 2 weeks. It's almost Easter. So
at least I'm close enough where I'm actually like entertaining the idea of figuring out Instagram's ad, I don't know, services. So apparently on Instagram you can specify location by like dropping a pin, and then specify the radius of distance from that pin that you want to market to.
Oh, cool.
So I plan on dropping pins on the beach, and hopefully if they let me do it with the granularity of meters, probably do it maybe 100 meter or a couple hundred meters out from South Beach to probably maybe 3 miles running up north, and I'll hopefully have enough granularity control to just enable those impressions or those ads from like Thursday to Sunday, and then figure out what tweaks I need to make if I'm mature enough to actually run tests and actually analyze results. In addition to that, that means that I need to set aside a budget not only for the marketing campaign on Instagram, but also to to fund an actual professional with emphasis on professional ads, meaning that I guess I'll start with Fiverr and have them create like a flyer type ad or a still image type ad. But I think I'll probably get greater results. Obviously, it'll be more expensive if I get an ad that's really a video, and more likely a video of the app being demoed with happy people smiling and having a great time ordering and receiving their food, which I feel like to have that 15-second video done in probably 10 seconds, right, based on attention span, I feel like that's probably going to cost me probably around $5,000 without me even researching anything about the cost of it.
Yeah, it's gonna be spendy. Stuff like that, spendy. I mean, if you get it back, it's good. So is the plan then to actually have it live and then run these ads, or?
Yeah, so the plan is after I field test it on myself with like another person where I'm essentially their bee and I'm just running errands for them. Fetch me this, fetch me some diapers, or fetch me baby formula. Like I'll field test it on that by creating like another menu for an XYZ business or baby mama business. And then once it gets resolved, or once it works good enough where it can satisfy the job, and I don't think there will be a huge surge of errors or WTFs when someone's using the app, then I'll go ahead and execute the campaign.
Cool. Yeah, I was gonna say you could just run the campaign and have the app, yeah, and see how many downloads you get with just a coming soon kind of a thing. When they actually get it down, it'd probably alienate a few, but you said like people are kind of coming and going from the beach anyways. So
yeah, I was going to ask, like, even though I think I understand that practice before you build the app, what would be the advantage of being maybe 75 to 80% done with the app and then running that experiment? Like what really is the benefit besides expectation, or just seeing if I'll just put that question out there. What do you think the benefit of that is?
After you've built it, probably nothing. So I just didn't know if you, other than you could do it quicker, sooner anyways. But yeah, there isn't really.
Okay. Yeah, so today I would like to get the customer app state hydration working, meaning they place an order, they close the app, or their phone dies, whatever, and when they launch the app again, it's able to navigate to the appropriate state of that order fulfillment based on their order, and it just resumes, right?
Cool.
So that's what I'd like to get done maybe within the next couple hours today, and definitely by the weekend. I got a Microsoft ticket with, well, I have a support ticket with Azure, because it's just, I think I told you this. Did I? About
Maybe
just deploying the Azure functions and not doing anything else, not running any integration tests, not launching any clients to these deployed functions or deployed Azure functions, like just it running idle. Like it ran up $10 in just like 2 days without any requests. And so I created a support ticket to figure out why am I getting so much traffic? Because it generated 300 something. It generated like 350,000 requests in 2 days. with no business activity, right? Which means that those requests, I believe, are just infrastructure activity, Azure infrastructure activity. And so I'm trying to work with them to figure out, do I really have to re-engineer my back end? And it probably appears like I do, but it defeats the whole purpose of the Azure function, right? Because I thought Azure functions were like you pay for a computation when your business needs something to be computed. That's what I thought. But that's not the case when you involve Azure Service Bus. I feel like
Oh
there's
yeah.
just costs with their polling system. And the thing is I have like 7, 8 Azure Function apps, not Azure Functions, but Azure Function apps, which are containers for my Azure Functions, and I probably have like 80 different Azure functions, in which probably 2/3 of them have a dependency on Azure Service Bus. So I say all this because it seems as if there's a high likelihood that I have to remove my Azure Service Bus triggers for these Azure functions and swap them out for just HTTP triggers. The only thing that I don't have to change is the actual like the order fulfillment pipeline. So they place an order that could still be a service bus trigger, and then all the statuses or events that are associated to fulfilling that order can still be a service bus trigger. But everything else, I don't know. I guess this is called experience and being able to speak intelligently. If and when this business that I'm trying to create fails, at least I'll be able to speak intelligently about architectural decisions for putting together an order fulfillment system and how to reduce cost. That's the only way I could feel good about myself. So
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that the triggers that you pay for the trigger, I suppose that there's computation cost in, waiting for the trigger, but yeah, it seems like it's, I don't know, counter to the mission or whatever. Unless that's just the cost of like it at large. But if you're not doing any sort of request through it, yeah, if you're not actually triggering the function, you don't think you'd be paying for the function.
yeah.
So, is it give you any sort of breakdown as to what the costs were? Or is it just like $10 on this account?
I'm not intelligent enough to decipher that. I still don't know how to use diagnostics, so I don't know how to retrieve the logs. I feel like I have to pay for a class in order to actually do that. I've probably spent 3 business days within the span of 6 months trying to figure out weird errors, and I've never been able to get any information out of their logs. Yeah, that's the thing about, for me, that's the thing about Azure. Like, to me, it's still not intuitive. Like, it'll tell you that you have like 3,000 errors, but it's not intuitive to just figure out what those errors are, unless you're like an Azure certified like technician.
Master.
Yeah, it's like, you tell me I have errors, I should just be able to click at most 2 times to figure out what those errors are. Like, don't give me the metrics about how often the errors occur. I want to know what the errors are. Else it's pointless. So I think I'm smart enough that like there should be like there should be some context to what my argument is. Like, I'm not a grandma. Like, this isn't intuitive to me.
Yeah, there is like a cost analysis thing, but it doesn't really, I'm just looking at it now. It doesn't really, I don't know that it gives you a breakdown of, how those things came about. But yeah, I don't know. Unless you are passing messages to it locally that you're not aware of. That whole problem you were talking about, where you're pointing to the wrong thing. But so I've been looking at for a work related thing. I've been looking at Orchard Core, which is Orchard CMS started as a content management system, but Orchard Core is a rewrite of it in .NET Core. But it's a fundamental underlying thing is being a multi-tenant framework. So there's a multi-tenant framework, and then they built a CMS on top of it. So it's pretty neat how they allow you to spin up tenants, pretty quickly and stuff like that, and how they got the routing working and stuff.
Sorry, Roman. How are you?
Oh yeah. Hey.
Any luck with Azure function calls while idle? All right, so I guess I'll answer this question. I'm overwhelmed by AWS or Azure. How are you overwhelmed with AWS or Azure? You mean you're overwhelmed with both of them?
Just cloud computing in general.
Oh, as in onboarding? I don't know. I've heard Azure is just easier to use. I'm not sure if it's true, but hold on, I say AWS, right? I heard it's easier to use. Staying away from it for most private projects. So what was the name of that website that you said supports multi-tenancy, if that's a word?
Or it's a framework. But it's pretty neat. It's called Orchard Core. There's another multi-tenant framework I found, but it's probably less supported than Orchard Core is. But
yeah, I created some scaffolding for some tenant services. I think I actually called it tenant services. Yeah, this right here.
Mm-hmm.
And Odie claimed that he was going to write a quick demo to I don't know if I told you that I've been trying to convince Odie to help me, and I'll give him if the low probability that this actually generates some passive income, I told him that whatever transactions go through this second stage for businesses using their own businesses that have a subscription to my backend services so that they can manage their couriers, whether they're employees or contractors, and that they could view reports and all the other stuff. I told him that if he writes the infrastructure for that, I will give him 20% of the revenue from it. But anyway, this tenant services right here, I'm curious if that framework, I guess I gotta look at their framework. But I mean, this is obviously specific to order fulfillment, where orders.retrieve, couriers.retrieve, couriers.add, couriers.remove, and then the menu. The menu doesn't necessarily have to be a restaurant. It's just whatever product or service that's being offered, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the spec, and I don't know, maybe in another 6 months, I can actually spend time implementing it. But I think this is my third time asking you, and I still didn't listen. What's the name of the framework?
Orchard Core. Again, it's a CMS over top of it, Orchard with an A, but it'll find it probably.
I'm hooked on phonics. And then in addition to that, a startup founder reached out to me because he came across my blog discussing Azure stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "Man, I think we're working on something similar. Can we connect? Can we chat?" And so far, and that was like 3 weeks ago, and I've had 2 sessions with them so far, and he's been building out. I mean, he's built an automated delivery software as a service, and so he's telling me like he's generating about 27,000 in revenue. And he has like I thought he said he has like 150 customers or something.
Wow.
So like I think his intent was to like figure out what I was building and figure out. I'm guessing if he could just what do you call when a country takes another country's land?
Next.
Russia did it to Crimea. Yeah, I'm guessing that maybe he was thinking that he could just annex me or some of the infrastructure that I wrote. But then I think it was clear to him that I'm kind of like trying to build something independently, and that's my focus. And he didn't go away. He's actually like been really helpful and actually mentoring me on a couple things, which I didn't expect. I expected him to like, oh, okay, well that's cool. Good luck, and not hear from him again. But he's actually like still engaging me, and actually instead of me really giving him value, he's like really. It kind of boggles my mind. He's really like spending an hour so far each week, like just mentoring me. And I'm surprised that he's doing that. So one of the things I think the most valuable thing that he told me so far that kind of resonated with me because I was telling him that like I still need a partner so that they can be the face and so that they can build relationships and they could like scale and market and reach the goal of 50 orders an hour, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's the goal probably after like maybe 3 months of launching it. That's the goal. It's ambitious, but if you scale it enough to the masses, like I think it could be done. And he was saying that, well, if that's what you're looking for, then a partner is an investor, right? So if you're looking for someone to partner with, you're looking for someone to invest their time and invest in your vision. So you need to put together a pitch, and it needs to be good enough that it's a no-brainer for them to partner with you. And that sounds obvious, but I never viewed a partner as an investor. I kind of viewed someone as, hey, I'm building this. Do you think it's a good idea? Yeah. You want to be my partner? It like that's kind of how like I felt it would go, but it made sense to me.
Yeah, I suppose it's a difference between a co-founder and an investor. I suppose a co-founder shares your vision and is in it because they want to do the same thing as you. I'm guessing, or like a whatever,
So,
but an
yeah, when I say
investor is there because it's like, well, I can add value to this and let them take their way, or whatever. So yeah.
well, when I said partner, I meant co-founder,
Mm-hmm.
but and I guess co-founder is still a fair term to use because all I'm building is the infrastructure, but it's useless without people using it or engaging it, right?
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, I have a feeling that if and when I do find a co-founder, I feel as if they'll probably be making more money than me based on the incentive.
Yeah.
Right.
Just make sure you maintain majority ownership.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was looking at this framework. What I thought was kind of cool is the like how quick you could spin up a tenant or whatever, but it's based on some other, experience I've had with something else that, in contrast, it seemed really crazy. But the it's pretty good at getting the routing for tenants correct, so you can set up different subdomains or different domains and route them to the correct tenant at the correct times. So, yeah.
I agree with Roman. I don't know anything about AWS, but Azure, like I said, it's not intuitive. Roman.
One thing that was kind of cool, because I haven't dug too much into AWS, but we use it at my new gig. But one thing that I thought was really cool was there's a framework called Local Stack, which has some premium features and some free features, but you can basically run, for the most part, you can essentially run an emulated AWS cloud locally, so that you don't have to deploy anything to dev in it.
Yeah, I mean, Azure has the same. I'm not sure if it's the same thing. So you still have to have an Azure account. You still have to have a connection string to Azure, right? But you can run your storage and your Azure functions locally, but your service bus is still on Azure, right? So that's where your connection string is. But you can still create your Azure functions. You can still point to a local. Actually, it's not local. How does this work? You can still point to a development version of Azure storage, and then just deploy that stuff later, or should I say publish it? No, deploy, publish, same thing.
Yeah, I think that they cover. Yeah, they got SQS. So I think the difference is that you can just do, I think you can do everything on Local Stack locally, except for probably the newest features of AWS. So they have an SQS instance or whatever that you can do, but that's a pro version, I suppose. So you are paying for it.
This
in
keyboard,
that case, but
I mean, cut you off.
no,
This
sorry.
keyboard has been sitting on my $15 desk for like 2 months. All because my F5 key doesn't work. This thing costs like $100, and I still haven't arranged for someone to install it.
Your what doesn't work?
So on my laptop, my F5 key doesn't work.
Okay.
So I got a keyboard for it, right? To swap out the keyboard, the keys. And it's just sitting on my table for the past 2 months, still in the plastic. I got to Google some computer technician and then probably pay them like $30 to put my keyboard in, because I feel like if I try to do it, I'm going to destroy something else.
Keyboard installations are pretty simple on keyboards or on laptops. You could probably look up a video on your particular model and see if they've got it to walk you through. But yeah, I guess just find a computer tech place and they'll do it for you. Charge you, but I suppose why don't you just buy an external keyboard and keep it there while you're doing that? No, you walk around with your laptop too much.
Yeah. I'm pretty mobile, man. So before COVID, it's common for me to go to like a Panera Bread and a Starbucks to get work done in the same day. Like yesterday, I went to Denny's without my laptop, came home, and then I went to a Starbucks and a sushi spot, like within like 2 hours of each other, to try to get some work done. So I'm like, I say all this because I'm just hella mobile and I take my laptop with me a lot, at least during the daytime, for me to try to satisfy my 2-hour quota a day. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't think I could. I don't think I could be very productive on just a laptop. I mean, I can do it if I need to, but like my muscle memory is really tied into using the insert home, page up, page down, delete, and end keys like that.
yeah,
And
it
that's
took
tied.
like a it took like a week for me to get used to this laptop coming from a different laptop.
Yeah.
The keys were just different. Like, yeah.
And then I'm a pretty big fan of the mechanical keyboards now too. So
See you,
allow
Roman.
play. So yeah. But
Who sent me a private message? It had to be
oh,
you.
that was me. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, it's I guess there's a for some of the features it's premium or whatever, but that's like you can basically run AWS locally for the most part through that tool.
So let me show you an example of just one Azure function app that I probably have to do mass refactoring on. Yeah, basically. Are they still keeping you busy at your new job?
Oh yeah,
Have,
yeah,
have you been considering your next passion project, or you're like, nope, I'm good. I have busy work. It's challenging. I'm engaged.
yeah. No, I'm super engaged right now. There's a lot of places where we can make an impact there, just because they've grown up so quickly. So it's like there's just a lot of um, stuff that needs to be like refactored or re-architect or cleaned up or and there's also like enough like troubleshooting and tickets and stuff because of where things are that that keeps you busy as well. So there's just always something going on. It seems like now that I'm running on full cylinders. So but I do want to. I don't know why I want to find like a personal project that creates a multi-tenant type application using that Orchard core. But but then again, I think Ludum Dare is coming up in well, it'll be next month, I suppose. It's about a month. They started theme voting early. Holy cow!
So,
Themes
like,
rather.
basically, from is this subscription too? Hold up for a second. Yeah, so this could so subscribe and unsubscribe. These are service bus triggers, which I think can be converted to HTTP triggers, and then I gotta change the parameters or the signature, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's an example of things that maybe don't have to be a service bus trigger. That's cost me a lot of money if I have it continuously running. So subscribe, unsubscribe. I don't know what located is. That should be HTTP, right? Yeah, it's subscribe is HTTP. But then everything else is the order fulfillment pipeline from like before delivery, pick up, and drop off. So each of these folders before delivery has the related um, events that could occur before delivery, and all this stuff is going to be HTTP or all these Azure functions are going to be, maybe with the exception of payment intent, is going to be service bus triggers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to pretty much, and this is just one of the Azure functions. I have 7 more, or no, one of the function apps. I got 7 more function apps that I have to like triage. And
Oh man,
so just to figure out how I can reduce the dependencies on service bus triggers so I can reduce the cost
what's your heartbeat function?
to diagnose if I'm even hitting the service.
Yeah, I mean, is that getting used?
No, it's so the HTTP triggers,
Yeah.
are sincerely like you only get computation expenses when you actually invoke it or call it, and that's it. So no, it doesn't have any clients to it. It's more of me putting that in every function app, so that I can at least know that I'm hitting the function app endpoint.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Unless you think there's a alternative.
No.
Okay.
Heartbeat. I would normally see them as like maybe a health check, um, no, I just wondered if maybe that was actually drawing
Nah.
whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, based
Yeah,
on the naming convention. Nah.
yeah. Do you have you have logging in any of that where you could, and you said you couldn't grab logs, but you could hook this up to an external logging provider, right?
Yeah, okay. Based on if you think that it's misleading, then other people is alive. That'd be better.
No, it's heartbeat's exactly what I would have expected it. I just was wondering if it was hooked to a trigger, like a service bus trigger, and and you actually were invoking it, like if you had a service that was checking heartbeats. I was just looking for possible explanations as to what you were actually charging up. But does it tell you which functions run, or there's just no functions being run?
It You talking about in the service or in Azure portal?
Yeah.
It I'm sure that it does if there's a master certified Azure technician, but the portal just shows the metrics of how many requests you're getting, how many errors have occurred. Um, I'm sure that like I have these logs in here, and so what's an example? So log error, log information. I put in the name of the function. So like I'm doing that, but I'm almost confident that even without me logging this, I'm almost confident with application insights, which is disabled right now as I was trying to figure out what was causing the the huge increase in cost. I'm almost positive Azure or application insights when enabled is going to have that. It's just you got to figure out how to actually use it and get useful information out of it. So, how do I undo my is alive? I don't see get undo.
If you, I don't know, go to Git changes and yeah.
There used to be a window. What happens to my get window?
Yeah, there should still be one. What helps is go to that search like menu or search thing at the very top and search for it. We'll find it. I'm sure. Oh, there you go.
Uh, so that's my life right now. I got to put in another Azure support ticket because when I disable my Azure topic subscriptions on the client apps, I get a task canceled exception. So that's something else I have to deal with. So I don't know. I'm staying busy. It's just the closer I get, the more challenges I run into. So I guess that's with anything in life.
Yeah. Yep.
Hold up. I thought I just undid this. Did I not just? Why does it still say? Try this one more
Have to
time.
reload or what?
I thought I right clicked on the solution. Well, that's the service. Right click on the solution. I guess it needs a refresh maybe. IDK.
So if you, yeah. Oh, it's an unsafe state or something. Yeah, who knows? The going to Vegas at the end of April, early May, or start of
Was
May. Oh, just as like a couples vacation type thing, or a couples thing with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law.
oh, you're going to Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you told me to go to Vegas. I'm like, why?
No.
You're like a couple. So I'm like, what? What are you trying to
Yeah,
say?
you gotta go to couples thing in Vegas, man. You gotta do it.
I haven't been to Vegas in like 20 years. I'm not a fan of Vegas.
Oh, my wife just got back from it, and I'm like, I want to go. So we talked to our brother and sisters-in-laws and or her sisters and whatever, and got it worked out.
Do you have the stomach for gambling?
Yeah, if I know how much I'm gonna like lose going in.
You look like someone that would play poker.
No, I don't. I usually would. I like to play roulette, maybe. But yeah, roulette would be my game of choice. I think everything you lose at, though. I think because it was a blackjack, and is blackjack the only one where technically you can win, where the house isn't necessarily.
People make the argument that if you play the probability like strategy, then you can get 51 to 49, 51 versus 49% odds in your favor. I had that stuff memorized. Like I read books on blackjack, and I had memorized the, when the ace has whatever card facing up, and these are your two cards based on the range. This is when you're supposed to hit. This is when you're supposed to hold. This is when you're supposed to double down. This is when you're supposed to split. Like I had memorized all that. Like this was back like around the Great Recession period. And I went on a winning streak where I won like, I started off with, I think like $500 to play with. And within like 1 week, I had even without expenses, I had turned that 500 into 5,000. And then I lost like like $2,400 in 2 days between West Virginia and Niagara Falls. I literally went to those two casinos within 48 hours and lost 2,700. And then I just tapped out, bought me a couch, and just chilled for a while.
Yeah, I like when you can land on some initial earnings or something, or wins, and then just gamble with the money that you've gained rather than with the money you started with. Because then you can just kind of like, play and not feel too bad if you lose. Like you didn't start out with that money to begin with. But
I'm not sure how casinos compete with the Dow Jones and NASDAQ, like how they compete with the stock market. I put some money into GameStop, and I bought in. So first I lost money the first time I put in, and then I got back in it at 100, and I bought back in at like 160, right? And I'm like, oh shoot, that's still way, way, way too high. And it dropped down to like 110. I'm like, I don't feel like taking another loss. I'm just gonna hold on to it. And then I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news, but I think it had reached like almost $300, and I got out. So I made some nice pocket change with that.
Nice.
Yeah. So
yeah, it is basically just gambling with potentially more information.
It's gambling, period.
Yeah, it is.
So
Unless
when you
you've got
don't
insider information, it's all speculation, right?
when you don't have $1 million software that runs faster on, I don't know, on specialized hardware, like, it's gambling, right? So
It's cool. Yeah, I haven't got into that racket yet, but I don't know. I'm starting to think about that I need to dump money into something that's not just cash because I'm worried about like inflation and stuff suddenly.
yeah,
I think there's something coming. So
yeah,
I might dump into like we're trying to buy like a lake property or like something like that and start funneling money into that because real estate like just never like it's so safe. It's pretty safe to put your money into real estate, but I think the value is not going to go down, especially on a lake. I mean, they could, but the risk is really low. But we've been waiting to try to find something where that would fit what we're looking for. But I might just pull the trigger here and do something suboptimal for us just to put cash into something.
yeah. People are putting cash into cryptocurrencies. I think Bitcoin's here to stay. I really think so.
Yeah.
It's been around for 10 years. It matured. Now you got companies actually acknowledging it and providing services that support it. It's here. The question is, are governments going to decide, you know what, we like that idea, and so we're going to take it over from here. Thanks. Right? Isn't that how they did the lottery? I thought
Probably, yeah.
I thought and that one or two subscribers of mine can correct me, but I thought with the lottery it was run by like the mob or whatever. Um, and then once it gained visibility and got on the radar of the law or the feds, and they're like, nah, this is too successful, we're going to take this over. And they took it over. Threw people in jail and took it over. I thought it was like out of New York, but you never saw the movie Hoodlum with
Hoodlum, no.
Lawrence Fishburne?
Probably should though.
It's a good movie. It came out, I want to
97.
say it came out in like '98, and they had Lawrence Fishburne. It had I don't know the other actors, but the characters in the movie were Dutch Schultz and I forgot the black person's. I can't remember.
Bumpy Johnson.
Bumpy Johnson, Dutch Schultz, and so it was basically three crime families that went to war over the lottery in New York City. Of course, the black crime family they owned Harlem, and then the other two crime families they were probably in Manhattan or whatever. And so they started going to war over the numbers. That's what it was called, the numbers.
Lucky Luciano.
Lucky
And
Luciano. And the numbers were generated
Frankie.
based off of, I thought that like the last 4 digits or 5 digits of the Dow Jones score.
Huh.
And that's how they generated the numbers for each day.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll have to watch this film sometime. Wonder if where I could watch it at.
In regards to inflation, have you sat your children down and explained to them that they're paying for the mistakes of you and your parents?
No.
In regards to taxes, and each of them are born into probably like $50,000 debt in regards to like taxes.
Yeah. No.
This sucks, man. We just literally just print money, continue funding what we value, like 2/3 of $1 trillion on military, and say, not our problem. hence elderly nursing home Congress members that won't be here 15 years from now. Yeah, we'll just pass the bill to our children and grandchildren.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I do not agree with that at all.
Yeah, it just keeps going. Every few years we'll get some, look at the national debt and the worry about it, but then like nobody ever does anything about it because you can't. It's hard to sell that. Like you can sell what you can give people, but you can't sell what they can't see. Like yeah.
So
You can't market it.
how do you either pay off the debt or remove the debt? How do you do that?
How you do it?
Yeah,
You default.
you default. Can
Or
you
you
just?
use your military and
I was gonna say, do
say,
you just
look,
go to war and whoever
no,
you
I
owe?
think, but isn't a lot of that debt actually just back to ourselves? Some of it's to China, but it's a bond market, right? That's how we pay for that stuff.
I don't
We
know.
borrow.
I thought that China has a lot of assets here.
Yeah, but I
I
mean,
thought.
well, yeah, because they would buy up the bond markets. I suppose you could seize it and say, nope, I don't owe you that, and then they'd be
Yeah, I
like,
was gonna
what?
say, like, do you go to war? And when you go to war, not only do you remove your debt collector because they no longer exist, but also you annex or absorb their their resources and their infrastructure, so that now they're generating for you.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
don't
that was
know.
the whole point of. Yeah, I thought that was the whole point of just taking territories is you absorb it into your economy and it starts, because it's an asset, it starts generating value. That's what I thought. In
Possibly.
in primitive times, whether it's, I don't know, Persia or Rome, they would just go to war, absorb whatever other territory, make them slaves, and that's how they would just continue generating value. I thought, hey Roman,
Right. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it would be kind of interesting to trace the debt, like because everyone talks about the debt, but it's how much goes to who or where does the debt actually sit? Like if I go out and buy a car, I could say I'm, $40,000 in debt, but what I'm $40,000 in debt to is, bank of whatever. Um, and there's a ascribed creditor, right? It's so when you're doing it with I'm pretty sure it goes into a bond market or whatever, and people buy up the bonds. But it'd be interesting to see how much we just owe ourselves, like our own people, back, and how much is foreign owned and stuff like that. Like who's the the creditor, and how do you trace it? I don't know. Yeah,
I don't think it's going to get paid off. I think the only thing you could do is remove the person that you owe, or remove the power that you owe. I think that's the only way. And there ain't no way you're going to remove China
yeah. Well, I mean,
at all.
I've got I've got 3 savings bonds from when I was like a kid that have matured that I need to go and cash in, and I should do that anyways because it's just losing value. But
You remember
um,
when
but that's
Obama?
technically money the government owes me, right? Because I bought a savings bond or I bought
I
a bond.
think so.
Yeah,
I mean, W-2s are the same way, right? The government owes you money, hence tax return. So
well,
you're letting
no,
it.
that's a return for an overpayment. They don't actually like
They do owe you
they owe
money.
you money, but it's because you overpaid. This with a bond, you buy in, you're loaning them with interest.
You overpay, but they're the ones that are collecting interest based on your overpayment at the end of the year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If they put it into an investment, which I don't think they do. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like US,
What is all this?
you're getting spammers, but I think Roman's right. Yeah, it's like people buy bonds, people buy into the treasury, so it's Like the money is actually just people, mostly people in the US buying debt, like the government's debt. But I think that's also, there's foreign governments that buy into those bond markets and stuff too. So, but it could be, it's like if you think about like 401ks and stuff like that, when they put it into safe bets, it's usually into the bond market, right? Because those are pretty safe bets. Like you're not going to lose money, but if the government defaulted, it would probably screw up a lot of people's 401ks and stuff.
You remember when Obama became president, and as the first black president, the United States credit rating went down? You don't remember that?
Well, it's 2009. It was a little different.
A lot going on.
Yeah, it was the housing market, man.
I thought it was funny. So I don't really have too much else to report. I'm making progress. That's it.
Oh, cool. I'm not making progress on anything, but work. Work's fun. So I'm going to ride the honeymoon phase with it for as long as I can.
Do they give you a position, or are there such things as positions there? Like, are you a project engineer, or
I'm
just a software engineer?
I'm a software engineer 3.
Okay.
So I'm technically a step below senior, which is kind of cool that they're not inflating the term senior, because that's such an inflated term.
Architect is an inflated term.
Yeah, that too. But I like the way that they structure their architecture team too. So far there's nothing I've encountered that is counter to like my own feelings and philosophies about how people or software development should be run. So like I don't feel like there's any architects that are just sitting on high and ivory tower type stuff. None of that. Like they're all exactly what I think architects should do in the way that they're structured. So stuff like, it's just there's the organization as a whole, like it's like stuff I've imagined over the years things should be, they're just that way. So including we got rid of our HR department. It's no longer called, I mean, they have an HR function, but it's not called the HR department anymore, because thinking of humans as resources is counter to the way we want to think about people. So it's pretty sweet. I think that's cool.
I think so too. They must be a European company or something.
Nope, they're based out of New York.
I had an interview last week, or a phone screen. You ever have interviews or technical interviews, and based on the questions that they ask, you know that you don't want to work there?
No, but I've been pretty picky about who I've interviewed with. So
I don't know. And obviously they weren't interested in me. Probably because I was attacking their decisions. Like I told them that SQLite was absolutely worthless, and it's just not needed when you're building a mobile app. 90% of the time, right? You could do the same thing without SQLite and just use local storage in JSON, serialize whatever structures to JSON, and just save it. Like, and I'll just start going in on them. Like, I could guarantee you that because you pulled in SQLite, your code base isn't testable, because you guys probably sprinkled SQLite entities throughout your entire application instead of isolating it to just your data access layer. And I just started going in because they kept on like challenging me. I never heard back from them. So that's sometimes for 15 minutes in the interview. Then I've been in an interview one time where I told them, you know what? This interview is more about what you know than you trying to figure out what I know. So I'm just going to end it. I've done that once.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't. I think I'd be too like passive to do that. Like, just be like, you know what, we're shutting it down. No, it's just not my style. No, I'd be like, oh, thank you, and then I'd get done and just like.
Roman doesn't look. Of course, I'm stereotyping, but he doesn't look like the cutthroat like type interviewee where he's like, you know what, your company's not worth my time, so I'm going to thank you for your time, and I'm just going to keep it moving. Like he doesn't. He looks too nice. So that's me stereotyping. I keep forgetting he's Scandinavia. I confuse him and someone else all the time. I think, where is he? No, he's Sweden. Sweden. I keep forgetting. He told me this like last Friday, and I forgot already. I'm almost positive he lives in Sweden. So,
yeah. Well, we have, I guess, Minnesota nice is kind of the culture over here, so it's like, you know, we're too respectful and don't speak up enough about stuff like that, not like other people do.
You guys have Best Buy up there, right?
Yeah. Best Buy and Target are Minnesota-based retailers, and then we've
Switzerland. I always confuse Sweden and Switzerland.
Yeah.
Why do I keep doing that?
I mean, they both start with SW, so.
Are they even close to each other?
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, relatively, they're close compared to like.
Are they both Scandinavian?
We're close. No.
No. Okay.
Switzerland's, I believe it sits between at the nexus between Germany, France, and Italy, doesn't it? Kind of like that. Just like if you put a country right in the middle of there that nobody goes and talks to, or like nobody wars with. Isn't that basically it? So,
okay.
Yeah. Now I feel like I've got that in Luxembourg, right? Get it in there now. Now I feel like I've got to fact check my geography.
Can you imagine what this world would be like in 2021 if Hitler succeeded?
You ever watch? Yeah, it's exactly where I thought it was. You ever watch Man in the High Castle?
No.
So that dips into alternate reality stuff where Hitler did win, but it's based in like what would be like the 50s and 60s, or 50s for sure.
You think he would have pushed into Japan?
Well, that's what they cover is like, so like in the show, which it's on Amazon Prime if you want to watch it, but there's they basically like split the US in half, and the Japanese own the West Coast and the Germans own the East Coast and Midwest. And then there's like this in the Rocky Mountains, or like this buffer zone where it's just kind of like lawless and
I want to watch that. That sounds interesting.
It dips into like sci-fi eventually, because it's all about, like, from what I understand, it's all about the Nazis not only wanting to conquer their world, but every other universe, because this is like an alternate universe. So it gets into that whole thing.
I assume that Germany took Africa because they did fight wars in North Africa, right? Or they did fight battles in North Africa.
I think so. Germany ends up being the dominant world force in this scenario, and Japan is kind of like, part of that is like the conflict between Germany and Japan, and trying to make sure that that's stable. But it like, there's a pretty ominous scene in, like, I can't remember if it's the first episode or what, where the guy's driving across to get to this neutral zone type thing, and he stops in this Midwest town because a cop pulls him over, and all of a sudden he's sitting there and it starts to like rain, but it's just ash. And he's like, oh, it's Tuesday. That's the day they take the cripples down to the. But he just says it like just so casually. Yeah. It's just like, it's a pretty like insane moment in the film, or in the show. It's at least the first season is really engaging. So.
It's a couple of things. Like, I mean, it's a pointless conversation, but it's also like if we were drunk or high, it would be fun to talk about. Like, would there be World War II if the Union didn't win the Civil War? Right. So meaning the Confederates won, which means that the United States isn't as powerful, because I thought the Union was known for production and the Confederates or the South was known for like textiles or whatever. No, I'm listening.
I was gonna say, but if the Confederacy won, they would have owned those northern features, right?
Yeah, but would they have still been sympathetic to what was going on in Europe if they're not? Oh, and of course, the difference is, well, it's white skin. I know some people don't believe that Jewish people are white. I think they're white, but like, would they have still been sympathetic enough to support and then enter the war in Europe?
Well, I don't think that the U.S. entered because they were sympathetic to the Jews. We entered because we got attacked by Japan.
Yes, and that was with Japan, but we went to war also with Germany.
Yeah, well, yeah,
which had nothing to do with Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, it was, but I think that they were declared.
Germany declared war on the U.S. Yes, yeah. You're right.
And well, I mean, but they were the Axis was in league with Japan, right? Weren't Germany and Japan in basically like they had a treaty or type something to support each other?
I'm not sure. I've never read anywhere, nor have I consumed any video content of them supporting each other. If support meanings supplies or funding, I don't think so. I think they had a common enemy, which was the United States, and I think that was it. Yeah, I honestly don't think they were even on each other's radar when it came to like my enemy is my, or when it came to like them really being allies. I don't think they were allies at all. I think they were literally just fighting against the United States. And I don't even think Japan cared about
the enemy Europe. Of my enemy is my friend kind of a thing.
Yeah, because you know why like they invaded the United States, or you think they just did it just because? Not invaded, but you know why they attacked Pearl Harbor.
No, I guess I haven't.
The United States kept slapping sanctions on Japan, and Japan was getting very irritated based on the effects of those sanctions, and they're like, you know what, F this, right? So obviously sanctions is like the diplomatic way of trying to enforce your policy on someone else without killing them, and Japan just got fed up with the consequences of those sanctions, so they decided to stage an attack.
But I think that the Confederacy would have been sympathetic to Europe, though, and stuff like that. But I also subscribe to the idea that the Civil War wasn't just about slavery. I mean,
I agree.
It was a huge component of it, but it was more of a cultural rift and a rights question, and it just happened to be that the states' right was about slavery, which was bad, but it wasn't entirely about slavery at all.
You would say that it was a select number of states defying federal.
Pretty much, yeah. And slavery just happened to be the topic on the table, but it was about the ability of those states to control their own stuff and that conflict, because you do have a federal but independent state. So it's, I don't know, like we tend to talk up slavery as the reason, like people were, somehow the North was champions of trying to do right for everyone, and they went to war because of slavery, but it was really the Confederacy wanting to control their own world.
You think in 2020, if it's the North versus South, You think it would be a stalemate?
Whoever has North Dakota North would win.
What does that mean?
And right now, because North Dakota's got the most nukes. They've got more nuclear warheads in North Dakota than they do in like.
Are you talking about NORAD or whatever that thing is called? What's that bunker that tracks?
I think that's in Colorado or something. No, I'm talking about just pure nuclear warheads and where they sit. North Dakota is like technically, if you just wiped out the rest of the United States, they're still a world power.
You think you think states would nuke other states on the same continent?
Yeah, but it's about the destruction or the possibility of destruction. If you're faced with destruction, of course they would.
I would think that the nukes would probably be up in Alaska and in Cuba. Well, Cuba's not part of the states. I would think that it would probably be in like Puerto Rico and Alaska. Definitely Alaska because of its proximity to Russia.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's lots of nukes up there too, but North Dakota's got just a ton of them.
And I am not exposing other people. Hold up for a second.
Yeah, I probably should get going anyways. I think my wife is trying to get off to work here, so I've got refresh my coffee and grab some breakfast before stand up. So we can call her good.
All right, it's been real. Thanks.
Alrighty.
Yeah,
See you later. Bye.
Bye.